Okay, welcome to another tutorial video. I know I said in the last one I was going to go through this in real time, and I did. The only problem was that it was 25 minutes long, and actually another problem was that it was immensely boring listening to me type. Sheila is a it was really painful. So I've actually gotten rid of that, and I've just put the essay up, and yeah, here it is. So what I've got on the right here, I've still got the mark scheme in mind, so I'm going to be referring to that. Obviously the question is there, so I'm going to be referring to that. And obviously the plan we made in the last one, obviously I'm going to be referring to that as well, just to see how I'm actually following it through. The essay itself is, essay quote unquote, is 660 words long. So that's about 2.5 sides, which is maybe, yeah, maybe it's not concise, but it's not loose in any way. 660 words, probably about 2.5 sides. So that would mean I'd expect a student to be writing for about, an average student to be writing for about 35 minutes to do that, which is exactly ample. Like, I didn't want to try and go over. So anyway, let's go through this and see how we actually hopefully get a C here. Again, I'm not going to be commenting on saying that this is a C. This is me hoping it's a C, and I'll be passing on to an AQA examiner, to a previous AQA examiner, to actually clarify and comment in another way, obviously, and that would be really useful for you to get another very experienced teacher's perspective on that. Okay, so my question is, how does Prissy change, and how do I think this is reflected? Sheila is a very important character in the play. She is the one who changes the most, and she started out selfish as everyone else. So there, first of all, obviously, in that section there, I've actually talked about the question, talking about how she actually changes and how she started out. The writer tries to use her to teach the audience about how he thinks the world should be. Brilliant. So again, well, it's brilliant. Sorry, that's a complete lie. It's not brilliant. It's very, very simple. I just mean brilliant in terms of, yeah, it addresses it completely. I'm reading it now as if I was reading someone else had written it. So how do you think this change reflects? And obviously the student there is showing me that they know what it is they have to do. The writer first shows us Sheila as a young girl interested in things of the world. It is the one I want. Is it the one I wanted? It's talking about the ring there. That's a quotation. It's not an exact quotation. I've done that one from memory, which is why I've put it in brackets afterwards. Don't use it in case there's one. But I'm sure she says something like, is it one I wanted? She is very happy with the ring, and she thinks it is important. The writer has made her be like that because he wants to show that she is interested in simple things. Okay, so again, there's a setup there for the base of how Sheila is. And obviously, later on, she will be very different, as when she gives the ring back, it shows that those kind of things aren't important to her anymore. Exactly. So it shows a kind of base responsibility understanding. So here I've got some consideration of the idea of themes about, obviously it's not kind of directly mentioned, but just in terms of the idea that we shouldn't be caring about material things and obviously capital. We should be caring more about other people. Although it hasn't been directly said, it's alluded to. When she finds out that she had something to do with Eva's sacking, she feels really guilty. Now I feel a lot worse. Again, the quotation. This shows how much she regrets it. So I'm making a link there to what I've actually understood from it, and shows that there are other things important to her. So you notice here, one of the key things I've actually put important to her, and I've used important to her there as well. That's kind of stereotypical of C grade writing. They've got common phrases that they just kind of repeat and use again and again and again. This is really important because This is really important because the writer is showing us that we should care about people, and Sheila does that at this point. So again, it's just making that link, and it's a very base. It's not very thoughtful, but it has some consideration. But it is considered, and it's qualified as in basically it is relatable to it. It does make sense, and it is backed up. So I'm hitting those standards there, or at least trying to. As well as the way she talks, the writer makes clear that Sheila shows how she feels through the use of stage directions, and obviously a quote, distressed. In leaving, she shows that she is very emotional and needs time to herself. This is a good way of showing that people of the class like the Burlings do have feelings, so there is a chance for them to change the way they live. And again, we're just kind of echoing some of the ideas from here. Haven't really had much of an appreciation. I think we've only kind of looked at it once, so we're going to see what's coming here. But as you can see from my plan, I'm sticking to it in the fact that she's materialistic and naive, and we'll see where we go from there. After she becomes calmer, she realizes that the inspector isn't quite normal, and she looks at him. There is something about you. From then on, she seems to be on his side and wants her family to do the right thing. She feels different, and she knows she's responsible, and she wants everyone else to admit what they've done and try not to hide anything. She mentions this straight away to Gerard. You fool. You fool. Sorry, he knows, you fool, and I hate to think what else he knows. Again, this is the writer showing his views that we can't hide from being responsible for our actions. He's telling us through Sheila that we need to be more caring and responsible for what we do to others at all times and at all levels in society, not like Mr. Burling. And that's interesting because there's a little bit of a diversion there, you know, in comparing, exploring, you know, the rest of the text and how other things are put. But it's a thoughtful consideration of the idea and themes, and obviously it's backed up and analysed in a fair enough manner. So there is some appreciation of what's being done. So there I've actually got to joins the inspector and picks up on stuff, and obviously when I lecture the family office, Gerald isn't part of the family, but she's lecturing, so I am still sticking to my plan. Also, Sheila and Eric do not want to just feel good after they find out the whole thing wasn't true. The rest of the Burlings go back to being exactly how they were, but she says, I suppose we're all nice people now. And she also doesn't take the ring back from Gerald. This shows that she has changed and been affected by the words of the inspector, and that she has learned her lesson, and she needed to look after those less fortunate than herself. So you'll see that this theme actually talk about the social responsibility, even though it's not kind of termed in such a way, is being kind of referred to again and again and again. So then I know that this student actually does have an understanding, does have an appreciation of what's going on, etc., etc., etc. The writer is telling us about his socialist ideas, and he is also saying that the younger generation are the ones who will be able to make things better because they can learn and change, and that means all of the upper class can change and be kinder to people and be kinder to those who need help, like the Evas of the world. And that, again, that's kind of touching upon. So basically, you can see I've done everything that I really need to do here. Everything that needs to be analysed, it has been hit. Even though, like I say, it's not brilliant, but it satisfies all of this, and what I'm trying to get here is a C. So far, so good. In conclusion, Sheila is Priestley, and so is the inspector. They are both good people who try and change the others. Sheila starts off not being liked by the audience, as she is like how people might be at the time if they were rich. Now, you see, I've kind of put that way. I haven't put the last section in. Is it just up here? Excuse me. Yes, here we go. No. There we go. I'm just going to take that bit back up. So you can see in that sentence, I was trying to write it in a way which was just a little bit not easy to read, but you can still get the information through. If I go over it again, in conclusion, Sheila is Priestley, and so is the inspector. They are both good people who try and change the others. Sheila starts off not being liked by the audience, as she is like how people might be at the time if they were rich in 1912. So it's not well written, but it still assists with the communication of the meaning. Okay, that's really important. So even if you're trying to get your points across, as long as you don't fall over it completely, you're okay. That sentence is far too long anyway for what it's actually trying to say, but the point it's trying to get across is that you can get away with that to an extent as long as your meaning is clear. But showing she can change is really good, as she could be a role model for other people, and that is why the writer presents us to her as a good person by the end, and we like her and her attitude and dislike her family. So I don't think it could get too much more simple than the last few lines, but again, it's the opposite of how we started. This is referencing the question here, and obviously at the bottom here we have the reference into the question. So all in all, I'll put this up on the Facebook page so you can have a look over it if you want. And obviously there'll be an AQ&A examiner looking over it and obviously commenting on it as well, and probably with a lot more detailed reference to the mark scheme than I just offered. But as you can see, if you look through it, perhaps I should maybe highlight it. But as you can see, everything has been kind of covered, and that's why this person should get a C in that mark band.